Hello and good afternoon to all of our interested scholars out there in virtual land. My name is Tashae Freeman Savage, and I am the JAMP Associate Director. I'm happy that you are here with us today. Today is actually our final edition of the Live JAMP 2023. The Live JAMP Entry Year 2025 JAMP Application Office Hours session. So we're very excited that you are here with us today, joining in from across our streaming platforms. Today is a very important day for the entry year 2025 timeline. Today is actually the due date for the JAMP application. So today, October 4th at 5 p.m. Central Time is when the JAMP application will be due for entry year 2025. If you do want to be a part of the upcoming JAMP cohort, please ensure that you have completed your application and submitted that no later than 5 today. That way you're able to be a part, potentially be a part of the upcoming JAMP cohort. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in today. So on behalf of the JAMP administration, which does include Dr. Matthew Meeks, who is the executive director of Texas Health Education Service, Dr. Nina Gonzalez, who is the JAMP director, myself, Tashae Freeman Savage, the JAMP associate director, and as well as Jennifer Koenig, who is the JAMP program manager. On behalf of the JAMP administration, thank you so much for joining us today and checking in and for today's session, which is actually our live Q&A. So it's completely open. I wanted to ensure that the JAMP administration was available to answer any and all questions that may still be, floating around today as it being the deadline. So if there are any questions, comments, concerns, or any challenges or barriers that you are facing when it comes to the application, we did want to take time to be available live to answer any questions the day of the application deadline. So we are here to answer any questions that you may have. In the meantime, I am going to be walking through the application guide for 2025. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So you are able to view the application guide on the JAMP webpage. You'll go straight to home and then you'll click on apply to JAMP. And there's a drop down menu that does have an option for the application guide. So you can go ahead and select that. And the application guide, if you guys have any questions still lingering today, if you're still in the beginning phases of the application, maybe you just found out about JAMP maybe like a week ago and you're just starting out in the first few sections of the application, really ensure that you have the application guide handy and it's right there with you. So if you do have two screens, amazing, while you're going through this process to ensure that you're going through section by section with the application. In previous JAMP cycle years, we have had this application guide in a PDF format. Thankfully, we have been able to upgrade this and make it a lot more digitally friendly. And we do have this embedded right into the web page where you're able to just go section by section with the application. And so when I mean section by section, it has the prospective JAMP Scholar screen, which is essentially that first home area of your application. You'll get to the application responsibilities. Again, you should contact your JFE if you are interested in the program. If you have not done so already, ensure that you have engaged with the JFE at your home institution before the October 18th supporting document deadline. I'm going to talk about supporting documents in a bit, but ensure that you have contacted your JFD and have already established some form of communication with them for this process. And so your responsibility as the JAMP applicant is to ensure you know all the deadlines, you obtain all the documents that you need to, you understand what the requirements are, you understand what the JAMP program is and how you fit inside of that and what's your role in this process. prior to interviewing, you need to understand kind of the technical standards, the essential functions as part of seeking admission into the program, which does funnel you into medical school. And so you will be required to sign certain statements and documentation. So let's go ahead and go through application tips. Hopefully you guys have all started your application already, and it's not something that you're starting today with the application deadline being in a few hours, because that's not going to be the best for you. So you really want to ensure that you do not use the back button. I'm going to highlight these important notes real quick. So do not use the back button while completing the application. It can mess up the system. So ensure that you're not using the back button. And so there's also special characters. This has been, I've answered a few questions this cycle about using the special characters. So ensure that in those text boxes, you're not using the equal sign, the at, the special characters, in that you're just using regular text and numbers. Deadlines. Let's just overview the deadlines today being a big one. Again, the deadline for the application this evening at 5 p.m. Central Time. The supporting documents deadline is October 18th. So ensure that you are working with your JFD to get these uploaded, because they will be the ones to upload that by October 18th for you. The interview, if you are selected to be a part of the entry year 2024-5 cohort, you will be contacted in December, setting up the time for your interviews to occur in January, sometime in the beginning of January. And if you do well, if you are the right fit for the program, then you will be contacted to be a part of the entry year 25 cohort in March or so. And in April, you will be a part of the new scholar orientation. And then in May, you'll go to your first summer internship experience. So it's the end of May, June, first summer internship experience. So it's pretty quick timeline. So that is the timeline for entry year 25 and some months to be aware of. So when you jump into the application, you're going to start with your personal information, which is just your bio information, your first, last name. It's almost as though you're starting the application for medical school. And it's almost like a job application where it's just asking your basic information in this section, contact information, name, where you live, your basic section. But then that's when we're going to go, after your demo, we're going to go into socioeconomic information. And why this is important is because JAMP is a program that is specifically for Texas residents, but also Texas residents who come from underserved backgrounds or may be underserved regions in Texas. And so there are questions that you're going to need to ask about your family, first generation, primary language, and the education that your family has sought out and completed. And so the goal is to see if you are indeed socioeconomically disadvantaged, and based on the questions, it'll kind of let the application know, thus the review committees understand if you do fall within those parameters. If you are, you have any military service, there will be questions directly tied to military service. And there's also an opportunity when you are submitting your supporting documentation to ensure you submit your JSTs, your joint service transcripts, to ensure you're getting that credit as well with your institution. Ensure you do so. Next, we're going to be talking about family, and that's when you're going to provide information about your parent, your guardian, siblings, and any significant people in your life. Then that's when we're going to go into the financial information. This is where you are going to enter in your college expenses, and it's going to be broken into a table that needs to add up to 100%. So you're able to play around with those ratios of percentages to fully kind of depict how your expenses are based on for the year. And then going into felony and misdemeanors, Again, this is specific because we're dealing with funding, state funding, federal funding when it comes to financial aid. So ensuring before you receive any funding from JAMP, you cannot have any felonies or certain misdemeanors. And so just going through these questions is the part of personal information application section. Before we head into the next section, just a reminder, if you have any questions across the platforms, you can drop those comments into the comments section at any time, and I will be answering them live on the spot for you. So the next section, we go into education history. This is where we do need to know the high school you attended. We're also going to need that supporting documentation of your transcripts to let us know that what you stated in your application is indeed true. And that can confer that for you. So we do need transcripts from high school and any college you did attend. High school, if it has that class rank on there, the better. We do want to have that class rank on there. We are aware that not every high school puts the class rank on the transcript. So if they do not, we understand as long as it's still official. But we will need official transcripts from college, any colleges you've attended, as well as your high school. Then you're going to also enter your coursework into the system. And so you're going to enter any college you have attended, the dates that you were there, and then also the courses that correspond with your transcript. So ensure that that coursework is accurate. So take time there to ensure that there's no errors when it comes to the grades that you've received in those courses, the prefixes, to ensure that everything corresponds and it matches. It definitely helps the system. It helps the process if that is accurate. So take the time to ensure that everything matches and you're putting the correct courses under the correct college that you attended. Make sure that the dates match, and then make sure that you're saving all the sections before you go on to the next, because it won't be saved until you click save before you move on to the next section in coursework. Also ensure you list the accurate terms you have attended. So summer, spring, fall. If you've taken summer classes outside of your home institution, ensure that you really delineate that in the application and when you're doing your coursework. That way we're able to see which courses correspond to which semesters, where we need to look while we're verifying the courses that you've entered against your transcript in the system. So, and again, remember to save. Every time you make an adjustment or add things to the coursework, ensure you save that before you go on to another section, because then that information is not going to save at all. Perfect. And then at the end, and under education history and training, this is where you are going to answer questions regarding if you consider yourself non-traditional applicant. And I've had a few questions this cycle asking me what non-traditional means. And so it's essentially traditional is you're fresh out of high school going into college. You're between the age of 19, 24. That's really a traditional college age and pathway straight from high school to college. That's traditional. Not traditional is really anything outside of that. So that's when we are looking at maybe student parents. We're looking at military members. We're looking at students who came in older, who don't have a graduation date of a year of 2024 or 2023. And so if it's anything outside of that, you could be considered non-traditional applicant. And so then there's going to be questions about if you've had any gaps in your education, explaining that, because that could mean you're non-traditional. What is that? And then if you've had any disciplinary action at your institution, or even outside of that, because we did talk about felonies and misdemeanors. So after coursework is done, that's when we go into activities. And so with activities, this is where we're entering in chronological order things that you've been a part of. What are things that you've done and you've been a part of that can really set you apart? And so this is a section in the application, and not all sections are like this to where you can't go back and edit this after you submit. There are some sections you can, but this is one of those where you need to be precise in what you're saying, and how you put everything in order. So please ensure that it is in order, and then it needs to account for all the time between high school and then right now, October 4th. So what have you done during that time? And this could be employment and activities. What have you been a part of? And so if there's things that are on the horizon that you're expecting to be a part of towards the end of the fall, going into the winter, put that, especially if you're currently involved in that now. And this is a question that has been asked a few times. Can you enter activities in multiple categories? And you sure can. You have to ensure that it's not the same exact wording. There can be multiple experiences or multiple lenses you can look through an experience as. So let's say you're shadowing, you have a shadowing in a clinic, you're shadowing a physician in a clinic. You can take things on learning the HR part of it. You can take things on how you interacted with the patients, how you handled records and personal information. So you can look at different competencies from one experience. And so, yes, you can definitely enter in different, the activities in different categories for the same experience. Just do not copy paste. Just make sure in employment, why this is a leadership thing, make sure you're really delineating that. Academic recognition and non-academic. So it's pretty self-explanatory, things that you've done while you were in high school, in your freshman year of college, and then things that are outside. So what are any maybe volunteer hours or things like that that you've been doing maybe since beginning of high school, but you may not have been paid for, or you may not have been in classes for or gotten credits for or anything like that. More volunteer type of work outside of school. You want to know about leadership roles, employment, any research you have been a part of, healthcare activities, and how involved you've been extracurricular and within your community. And then there is going to be a section to where you are able to talk about the most meaningful activity, and you can list up to 3. And that does have a cap at 500 characters for each entry. So you're able to really talk about how these activities have impacted you and your trajectory, and why JAMP is the place for you, and really how you can utilize JAMP as a tool to get you to where you want to be in your physician journey. And then now we're going to hop into essays. But before we do that, again, if there are any questions during this segment, please feel free to drop them into the comments section, and I'll go ahead and answer those live for you today. Again, this is the last live session Q&A before the application closes today. So feel free to drop any and all questions into the comment section. Now, going into essays, remember we have multiple essays in the application. And so please do not wait until 2 o'clock this afternoon to start your essays, because you do want to give yourself time. You want to make sure your formatting is right. You want to make sure the tone and the flow, all of that is there. And so definitely ensure you've started those if you have not done so already. But there are 3 essay components. 2 are optional and 2 are required. 1 is optional. So the first one of the required is the personal statement. This is where the essay is going to ask you to explain your motivation to pursue the study of medicine and utilizing JAMP as a tool to get you there. And so we want to, the committees want to know how JAMP is going to help you specifically. What are your goals? What are things that you want to accomplish, your motivations, and how JAMP can help you there? Things to also be mindful of is JAMP is a workforce pipeline program, which is here to end this pipeline of physicians that come from underserved areas. And so if there are certain aspects of your upbringing or certain goals and aspirations you have to give back to the community here in Texas and things of that nature, please ensure that you are communicating that and tying things into the AAMC pre-medicine scholar competencies, and also pulling in things from the JAMP mission. And so ensuring that you understand the JAMP program, what the mission is, what the goals of our program is. That way you're able to make those connections in your essays. That way it really paints the picture on why you need to be a part of JAMP. And the essay is limited to 5,000 characters on that essay. It will stop right at 5,000 characters. The next essay that is required for all applicants is the personal characteristics. JAMP practices holistic review. And so we don't want to just focus on the metrics, your GPA and scores and things of that nature. We really want to know about you and what are those goals and motivations and how you paint your characteristics and how you paint those experiences. This is really the gray part of the application. It's outside of that black and white. This is really the time where you can showcase who you are and the things that you've overcame and how you can make those connections again to the JAMP mission and the program. This is also capped at 5,000 characters, including the spaces. And then we do have an optional essay. So there's one optional essay that is available for all applicants. And this is that opportunity for you to really paint another picture on why you believe you've experienced some sort of unique characteristics or life experiences that really set you apart. Has there been any real significant barriers to your education, your upbringing that you've overcome, and you really are thinking about using some of these tools? You've learned grit, you've learned how to be tenacious and to not give up. Those type of things are really where you can kind of showcase it through this essay. This is the section to do so. And so while it's not required, it is a strong, it could be a strong piece of the puzzle for you if you really have something to say there. So it is optional. If you don't do it, is it going to hold anything against you? No, but it does provide an opportunity for those applicants who truly have any unique circumstances to put that there. So that is essays. If there are any questions when it comes to essays, please just drop it in the comments section. I'll be happy to work you through that because that is one of the bigger question sections we get. Proof of residency. Now, the JAMP program is for Texas residents. So if you do have any questions about your citizenship and permanent residency and visas and things of that nature, please let us know or reach out to TMDSAS. That way, they're able to assist you in a timely manner on that determination. Now, inside the application itself, when you get to this section of residency, there are going to be some questions you can answer, and it's going to be like a preliminary checker on the application itself. You answer the questions, and then it'll say, hey, you are a Texas resident, or there may need to be a little bit more investigation we need to do before we make that determination. And that's when you can work with TMDSAS through those questions, or you can also send a message through the application itself. So you can go to the top where it says new message and create a message and send that to us as it pertains to visa and residency questions. And we'll be happy to help you. Supporting documents. So one supporting document that is important is the photo. And this is important. You want to ensure that you are showcasing yourself in the best light. This is one of the first steps that you take as a potential JAMP scholar with us. And how you showcase yourself is that initial photo that you use for your profile. Have it be professional, white background, no filters, no crazy angles. This is not Instagram or Snapchat. This is a professional photo that needs to be, because when you are submitting an application to JAMP, you are essentially submitting an application to the Texas medical schools. there are going to be some committee members from JAMP who are reviewing the applications who are employed at the medical schools. And so you want to ensure that you always paint yourself in the best picture. This is a part of professionalism, which is a huge piece of the JAMP program. So ensure that the photo takes up the entire page. Once you've uploaded it, it's not an issue. Just continue. It's okay. But you cannot change your photo after you submit your application. So really be mindful of which photo you choose, because it's going to be a one and done situation for the photo on your profile. So documents to submit. We do have our handy dandy JAMP supporting document checklist, which has also been sent out in the applicant newsletters that have been going out every week. But you will need to go through with your JFD to ensure that you, the notice of intent to apply, authorization to release records. Again, we're going to need that high school transcript as mentioned, the student aid report. I'll take a moment on that. JAMP is for scholars who come from a disadvantaged background, and it might be economic. And so the student aid reports are a way for JAMP to see if you fall under what's called needs-based. And so we're going to need 2 student aid reports that come from your FAFSA. So for 2023, 2024, that FAFSA does still have the EFC, which is the expected family contribution or estimated family contribution. And that is the JAMP criteria there is 8,000 or below. So an EFC of 8,000 or below, and you are eligible to apply for this cycle. Again, we're going to need 2 SARs. So we're also going to need that 2024, 2025. If you are an early admit student, we understand that you're only going to have 2024, 2025, which has the student aid index and not the EFC. So the SAI for JAMP at this time, we're just setting it at if you are Pell eligible. So if you are eligible for any sort of Pell, whether it be the maximum or the minimum, you are indeed eligible to apply to JAMP for this cycle. So either 2023, 2024, 8,000 or below EFC, or 2024, 2025, you being Pell eligible. Again, we're going to need both SARs, but you really only need one to be considered eligible. Letters of evaluation. We have expanded who can be a part of the evaluator. So we do recommend that you do reach out to your JFD and they are one of your evaluators, recommended, but you can also have your evaluations come from a faculty member, supervisor, extracurricular coordinator, supervisor, high school counselor, teacher, mentor, really any third party that can attest to your motivations and your desires and who was in a more supervisory managerial role, who can attest to that for you, should be your evaluator. Again, it's recommended that one of them be your JFD, but it is not required. Again, we're going to need those transcripts from any college you've attended and your high school transcripts, and the SAT and ACT scores are no longer required, but you can submit those for review by the council. If you want it to be reviewed and if you feel like it will help your application and not harm it in any way, if you feel like it'll help set you apart, go ahead and submit it. If you don't want to, you do not have to, and it's not going to hold any weight against you. Transcript request form. If you do need to use a transcript request form for your college to request any transcripts, you can find that on this page, and it has our information. All you have to do is go ahead and download it, fill it out, and you could probably send it into your school if you need to, or your JFD can go ahead and go through this process with you. At the end of your application, and once you have gone through your certification, ensuring everything is accurate and everything is up to date, because remember, there are some sections that you cannot go back and change after you press submit. So ensuring that everything is good to go, you're going to certify which is essentially you signing your electronic signature before you press submit. Once you press submit, you submitted your application. That application is going to be a part of the review for JAMP. And again, there are going to be some sections you can't change. And so submitting. Today is the deadline for the JAMP entry year 2025 application. So you will need to click that submit button no later than 5 p.m. today Central Time to be a part of the next JAMP cohort. So if you do have any questions, you need any assistance when it comes to the application, please be in contact with us. Our phone lines close. Our office is going to be closing at about 4 o'clock Central Time today. So please, if you have any questions, let us know. We'll be happy to help. Contact your JFD. The next deadline after today is going to be the supporting documents deadline, which is October 18th. Please ensure you have started the process of working with your JFDs and obtaining your evaluations if you have not done so already. So at this time, I'll go ahead and open up the floor for a couple of more minutes. If there are any questions, guys, today's the deadline. I'm here. Even if it's, how do you do this? Where can I find this? Go ahead and drop it into the comment section, and I'll be happy to answer that. I'll give it a couple minutes. All right. I do hope that I'm doing a great job, and that's why there are no questions today, because I do see we have some viewers. Reminder, this is the last entry year 2025 live session before the application deadline. And we are very excited that you have been joining us weekly for our special edition live office hours. We may potentially have one next week when it's dealing with supporting documents, but we will be in contact with you all. Oh, we do have a question. So hello, I uploaded a photo, but the background is black. Is that a problem? So I wouldn't say that it's a problem, especially if it's a nice background and you yourself, you're not wearing black and fading into the background. If you've already submitted your application, it's okay. If you have not submitted your application yet, I would suggest going in and potentially changing that photo to a white background just to make sure it pops out, because the application itself is white. And then when we put the photo there, having a black background could kind of distort it a little bit. But if it's already submitted, hey, it's already submitted. As long as your face is, it's a nice photo and it's not filtery or anything like that, it'll work. I do hope that answers your question. Perfect. I'll go ahead and leave the floor open for a little bit longer. Again, any questions that you may have, definitely here to answer today. Perfect. I'm glad that that answered your question. All right. Well, thank you for attending our final edition of Entry Year 2025 Live JAMP Office Hours. My name is Tashae Freeman Savage, the JAMP Associate Director, and it has been a pleasure joining us weekly and us covering topics, getting everybody ready to submit their applications today, no later than 5 p.m. Central Time. Oh, okay, no worries. You have a quick question. How can I help? All right. Okie dokie. So we have a residency question. So at this time, what I suggest that you do is you go ahead and send an email over to info@texasjamp.org. And what you're going to want to do is make sure you have your JAMP ID from your application. Put your first, last name, JAMP ID probably in the subject, and then also CC support at tmdsas.com. And then also CC info at tmdsas.com. So you should have it sent to us at info@texasjamp. And then you need to CC info at tmdsas.com and support at tmdsas.com. And the reason why I'm saying both of those is to ensure, because we're right at the getting close to the deadline, so that it could be a more immediate contact from TMDSAS and determination on your application. With that, you don't want that to be a barrier. So if you can get that to them as soon as possible, hopefully that way they can remedy that for you and walk you through over the next couple of hours. I do hope that helps. All right. Any other questions? Completely here for you guys. All right. Great session. Well, we are always here for you guys from 8 to 4 Central Time on the phone. Send us an email, info@texasjamp. And I do look forward to seeing those completed, submitted applications today. All right. You guys have a great rest of your day. See you later.